Hello, everybody, and welcome to the separation space. This is episode number 5, part 2. Sam and I have just recorded part 1, which was all things coaching. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, I would really urge you to go back and have a listen to part 1. We talk about the highs and lows, why we became a coach, how we're experiencing the industry, and the real benefits of having a coach as well. So please go and listen to part 1. Part 2, if you haven't already noticed, we have a guest. We have the amazing Simon Holland with us. He is Diary of a Divorce. And Simon, Sam and I, we are both so happy to have you join us as our first guest. We feel very honoured and thank you so much for taking the time to join us this
You're very
morning.
welcome.
Yeah, it's we've known each other, Simon and I, a couple of years really, because we both got introduced to the coaching world, having going through divorce at roughly about the same time. We wanted to get you on and discuss all things about how really men sometimes can struggle in silence and how important it is to talk about the process and see it from a different perspective. Because how are you, first of
Yeah,
all? How is
absolutely.
everything?
I'm great. It's nice and sunny up here in Lancashire this morning, so all good.
Thank you so much, Simon. We so appreciate you coming on because men's mental health and how men cope with divorce. I mean, as you know, we've talked about this before, but I'm my husband's second wife, and when I met him, he was going through a divorce, and at the time, I didn't realise it, but I actually helped coach him. And he says
Wow.
now, if he hadn't had that or had me at the time, he doesn't know where he would be. So I think men do bottle things up perhaps and don't talk about things as much as women do. But we sort of honed it down, didn't we, into 3 questions. And I'm going to be asking you those questions and then leave it to you to to let us know how you've been coping. So I think
Yeah.
the first question we sort of we're going to concentrate on is what was the hardest part of separation that nobody warned you about?
Okay, so in at the deep end, eh? I think
Yeah,
the word coping is probably quite you cope because you have
yeah,
no other option. The overwhelming sense of loss for me was hard to accept in this sense that I was never going to be the same again. This dread
yeah,
of
yeah,
immense sense of failure, of loss, sadness, probably like a grief, and then that morphs into isolation, feeling lonely, a lot of time on your hands, big space in your life around the house when there's
yeah,
family have all gone,
yeah,
and just nobody warned me about that. It was all about the paperwork, the legal bills. I was obsessed with that to begin with, and then it just the mental health, the weight and the pressure. I think pressure is probably a good
yeah.
word. The mental pressure that I felt managing the paperwork, dealing with lawyers. I don't know, trying to
Managing your
outthink the
emotions
others.
as well as the paperwork. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but trying to be businesslike and deal with somebody in a
yeah,
legal sense who you've been with for 17 years and loved and been intimate with, and
yeah,
now they're
yeah,
the other side. You've got all that legal language, but that just almost like trying to go through that under the darkest cloud, that moment before the thunderstorm when you know it's going to erupt, that pressure in your head,
yeah.
which probably for me lasted 3 years and to a degree still
Mm,
I struggle with even now.
mm,
Mm.
It's
When
yeah,
you were going when you were going through that, Simon, and thank you for sharing everything, by the way, because I know some of this is going to be quite making you feel vulnerable and exposed, but we're really grateful for you opening up. I think men and women do cope differently, and men find that they cope with a divorce in utter isolation in terms of maybe their friendship networks. You can't really open up to friends and family. There's a lot of denial, potentially a lot of shame. Whereas women, we generally then have our tribe to go to. Women talk more openly to their girlfriends and their family and seek solitude in comfort. So I definitely have sensed, as I say, having coached men as well, what you're experiencing is exactly what other men have echoed as well. And I think it's
Mm.
critical why you're doing the work that you're doing today is that because you've lived and breathed it and you're now in the throes of becoming a coach. There's just not enough coaches out there, especially men coaching as well. So sharing your own personal experience will really resonate with a lot of people that are listening to this today.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think one of the first sentences you just said, was that you don't know who you're going to be after being a divorced man. Well, you're
You
going to
really don't,
probably
and
be the
yeah,
go on.
I'm certainly not the person I was, and whether I'm a better version or not, I'm just a different version.
Yeah.
Um, that's for sure. But
What?
one thing,
Mm.
one thing I've come to realise is that even though the sort of the experiences I've lived through are from a very male perspective, I do think as a coach, I think I'll probably gravitate more towards maybe men might be more magnetised towards my style of coaching, but I
Yeah.
think I can really empathise with the female side as well. I've never
Mm.
used. People are quite shocked when I speak about my ex-wife because, um, much as she's caused me a great deal of heartache and difficulty, and the catastrophic effects on our family and finances and future, I still speak of her in very high esteem. I still love her very deeply. I didn't want any of this. I'd have had her
Mm.
back in the click of her fingers for those 3 years of separation, even though we'd been through the courts and etc. etc. I said to everybody, "Look, I'll have her back in a heartbeat. No questions asked. Let's get a van,
Yeah.
get your stuff." But that changed once the divorce was finalised. But I understand where she was at. I understand the position she took. She did find a tribe, which that was difficult to see because she was going to these sort of yoga events and meeting all these new friends, and I could see this tribe being formulated. And looking back, she was gravitating towards other divorced women, and she's now got quite a large friendship group of women, which she never they weren't her friends when we were married. So she's found a whole new sense of freedom, seems really happy in her new life, and yeah, I'm gutted and I'm a bit jealous, but I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Mm.
want to see her unhappy,
Yeah.
but
So,
yeah.
so
So
what do you think helped you, Simon? I remember my husband saying when the house was empty and he literally had a washing up bowl left, it was like, oh my God,
yeah,
how the heck do I cope with this?
yeah,
How do I even start? What,
yeah. Well, I thought I'd been
where
burgled.
did
I had a
you,
kitchen table, a bed, and two sofas left when
yeah,
when my
yeah,
my, my, my wife left. But I
yeah,
hated the silence. The silence was this like, and I work from home, so this office where I'm in now,
oh, that's
this is
really
where I
difficult.
spend
Mm.
9 hours a day, and I
Yeah,
didn't want to be sat here in the evening, so I started to go out in the. I live in a small village in Lancashire, but it's pretty active. I'm on the local residents committee and started getting active in that. And then I got asked to become a local councillor, so I put myself forward for that. Got elected, which I didn't think I
oh
would.
wow,
So I'm now the local councillor here, that gave me a
that's
great sense
amazing.
of accomplishment and a great
Yeah,
way to meet more people. And be part of an organisation, the local borough council. It's nice having colleagues. It's different to working on your own. And I host local quiz nights. I joined what they call a livery company in the city of London. So once a month, I get dressed up and head down to the city and take part in quite formal dining events. I got given the freedom of the city of London last year, which was amazing.
oh,
Um, and I joined a gym, and I think a friend of mine at the time said the answer's in the gym, not the pub.
yeah, very
Which was
true.
that was one
Yeah,
phrase that always stuck with me. The answer's in the gym, not the pub. Now, I never cancelled the direct debit for the gym, but I can't honestly sit here and say I went 3 times a week, every week. There were whole months when I didn't go at all, and I came to see on a reflection the good times when I was doing well emotionally they were the periods where I was eating well, while I was going to the gym, and then there were whole times when I was just going out with the dog into the local pub, feeling like crap. and struggling
Yeah.
emotionally, and I was just kind of bouncing from one emotion to the next for many months, several years, and I had to at some point sit down and think, I need to take some control here and make some intentional decisions.
Yeah.
What kind of life do I want to live? And I did sit down with a big pad of paper and I started to map out the kinds of things I'd always enjoyed, the kinds of, concerts, travel, city breaks,
Yeah.
just what kind of music did I like, what kind of, just that, books did I like to read? And I've literally intentionally curated the life that I've got now. I couldn't find myself. Sadly, I was gone. I didn't exist anymore to
Yeah.
all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
That there was nothing to find. It was gone. I was never going to be the same again. I had to invent and create a new sense of self.
Yeah.
And
And I think
that wasn't about a
the
different
first
hairstyle or it was
no,
much deeper than
no,
that.
no, no. I think what you did as well is an amazing process where you start reframing your life. You start looking at it
Yeah.
from a completely, almost like a lens, looking out, down. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
I
kind
was. I
you
was.
kind of have to as well, because
You did.
you have to. So everything that we're taught as coaches, we have to practice ourselves. Otherwise, it'd be ridiculous for you then to become the
Yeah,
coach you deserve. So you kind of have to heal first, do all the work,
Mm.
because it's all very well learning all of these amazing tools, and you're naturally doing them anyway, which is amazing. You've naturally gravitated to sitting down and doing some journaling and reading and not recognizing where you're buffering. Obviously we're going to the pub, if you're buffering, you're finding an escape. How do you look at breaking that down and going, how do I change my
yeah.
life? How do I make the
I mean,
rest of my life the best part of it now?
that was it. It was all about the rest of my life, and I wanted to. I've always had this thing about legacy. When I'm gone, how will I be remembered? And I thought, I've got two boys, 17, 23, and I didn't want
Yeah,
to be a fat, depressed, unhealthy, highly stressed and strung, lonely, unattractive, divorced man who sits in the
yeah,
corner of the pub throwing pints down my neck, looking for answers in the bottom of a pint glass, because trust me, there are none.
yeah,
And
Mm.
thank God, it's almost like somebody slapped me around the head and shook me and said, come on, get a
yeah,
grip.
yeah,
Um,
That's
and
amazing. Mm.
it was that surreal for me. It was like night and day, and I realised, thankfully, in time, that I had to take some control, and
yeah,
otherwise I was going to end up a mess.
yeah.
I was going to say, I think once you take that control, once you make that decision, it
Mm,
quite quickly, that domino effect comes into place, doesn't it? And things start slotting in, one thing
Well,
leads
yeah,
to another thing, to another thing, and then you
and
get
it's
confidence in doing that one thing, so that leads you on
yeah,
confidence to do more.
but it's like attraction. We talk about a law of attraction, these sorts of things, and
yeah.
it actually works, because I
Oh, it
realised when
does.
I
Yeah,
stopped sitting in the corner of the pub attracting 5 or 6 old blokes, oh, this country's
yeah,
broken, I'm my ex-wife, and you end up sitting there thinking, and you get dragged down to this common
Yeah,
denominator.
yeah,
And
yeah,
when I
yeah,
got elected as a local councillor, for example, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying I'm the big chief, but it's a position of influence. So I started to organise local litter picking initiatives and this kind of thing.
yeah,
I could no longer be that guy in the corner of the pub on a Friday night, and a
yeah,
Saturday
yeah,
night, and a
yeah.
Sunday
You
night, and a
take
Monday night,
responsibility. Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm the local councillor. And
yeah,
yeah,
that carries a certain expectation of behaviour. And
yeah,
slowly but surely, I started to. I think in pictures. So I had this image of my life like a dry stone wall that had just been fallen down over 200 years of neglect. I was living a life essentially in
mm,
ruins, and I had
mm,
to put that wall back together and rebuild.
yeah,
As
yeah,
coaches, we talk about refine, rebuild, reframe.
yeah,
These are mnemonics. They're words, but they have a practical application.
yeah, yeah. And I
really.
think it's the discipline as well. The minute you're disciplined and committed, that is the most powerful thing you can possibly ever do. Because it's all very well
Yeah,
easily writing stuff down and going, right, so I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But unless you're disciplined enough to go, I'm going to do this, like you say, law of attraction does come
yeah,
into play. Completely, utterly agree. The minute
yeah,
you make a decision
yeah.
you're going to make something happen, you do it.
Changed the world for me. It was I needed to tell. I've got horrendous inner self-talk. I could write the book on imposter syndrome. I'm the poster boy for this. I grew up in Lancashire just feeling less than everyone, was just the way I've always been. And for me, simple daily steps like getting up to an alarm at not 10 o'clock in the morning, 7:38, having a shower, making my bed. I'm talking this granular, coming downstairs as I put the kettle on, make my coffee. I have my vitamins in a little pouch. I take my 2 vitamins, a glass of cold water, take the dog out into the back. It was small things. Get the laundry on. I never did the laundry. When I was married, I didn't even know how to use the washing machine. I used the iron occasionally. I didn't put the hoover around. I did the other stuff. And all of a sudden, I was getting the laundry and coming down the stairs and putting the washing machine on and putting the powder in, thinking, this voice in my head that was saying, you're nothing, you're nothing, you're nothing. There was this other voice in my head going, yes, he is. Look at him. He's putting the laundry on. He's having his vitamin. He's making the coffee. He's taking the dog out. And it was this conflict. And over time, the small things that I was doing really started to accumulate and gave me a bit more confidence, a bit of a better sense of self, sense of worthiness. And it all just crept up daily. And when I'd have these negative thoughts, that voice would say, not having this. He's doing really well. He's keeping the house clean. He's putting the hoover around at weekends. He's keeping on top of the laundry. He's being a good dad. He's making healthy food. And it started to reprogram very slowly. And it was during that sort of time coming out the other side where I started to think I can really help people. Because people started to gravitate towards me and say, would you mind speaking to a friend of mine at work? His wife's just said she wants a divorce. And I've told him about you. And I said, yeah, of course I will. Give him my number. And it was then that this idea of coaching, and I didn't know it was a thing. There was certainly nobody out there that was helping me, as a coach. And that was it, really. That's where it came from a very humble heart to want to help others.
Yeah. And, I know listening to you, Simon, you're just going to make an amazing coach and help other people because you've lived and breathed it. And you are learning. It's not like you want to have a switch to turn off these emotions, because that's impossible. We'll always feel anxious. We'll always feel angry. We'll always have the imposter syndrome. But what you've just explained is you're learning how to cope with it better and almost manage it better. I know now how to handle this because I know my boundaries, for example.
Or to avoid it,
Yeah, obviously you're still not going to feel pissed off. You're still going to feel really angry.
And it's still a work in progress. One message, people looking for a quick fix. I'll sign up for some coaching. I'm going to be fine 3 weeks from now. That's not how it works. Because I'm separated almost 4 years, divorced since November. It took 3 years to go through. And I don't have any contact with my ex-wife. Our son together is of an age where he comes and goes between us on his own. And the framework we had kind of has become a bit looser now because he decides he wants to come here or go there, whenever he wants. So, but if I have to see my ex-wife, and it's still quite difficult to say that actually, my ex-wife. Because I will quite often say my wife, and people will say she's your ex. So there's still this work in progress. But when I do see her, I think the word I'm looking for is unsettling. It's very unsettling because I'm doing great, she's doing great, and we have this interaction, and it gets emotional because it reminds you of this person was gone, but then they're kind of still here. It's this weird middle ground, but it's. You've got to keep moving. I just each day think just keep moving, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Just keep doing the small things. Good days, bad days. Take the rough with the smooth.
And it's recognising those emotions, isn't it? Rather than stuffing them down, like you say, you feel unsettled. That's good that you've recognised that, and you're not trying to hide that. That is how you feel, and coping with that. Having the tools and techniques to cope with that is, really good.
I think an important.
Really good.
Yeah. What was an important learning thing during the course I was doing for me was an analysis of core values, because I learned that if you understand your core values and you behave in line with those, I didn't want, like I said earlier, this future of, I didn't want to make things worse. I didn't want to have to look back in 10 years and think, wow, the divorce was really tense because of my behaviour, my anger, my resentment, my bitterness. So I found that understanding my core values was a really great exercise. How do I want my ex-wife to think of me 5 years from now? Do I want her to hate me, or maybe just have some sense of respect or understanding? Or and that was an important piece of work, which I would highly
And I think that's
recommend
what
people
I
do.
meant earlier, was saying about finding yourself again. What I meant was finding, going back to your core values. What do you stand for, and living by them, and creating this new life, which is exactly what you've done, based on
Yeah,
you, and you're going back to who you are and your core values, and
yeah,
designing a life by design, not by default. You're actually living
correct.
your new
Yeah. But
life.
that's where coaching has massive value, because if I listen to my mates now, we all need support, and I would recommend anybody who doesn't go through this alone, find a friend who you trust. But that isn't everyone in the pub, because there were times when
Yeah,
people would say to me, listen, we're all getting a bit sick of hearing about you and your ex-missus, it's to talk about something else. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to talk about right now.
yeah,
So find that trusted friend, but also if you can get a coach alongside you, it's massively
No.
valuable, because they can ask you these
Yeah.
questions. They can hold your hand through this process,
Yeah.
because it's hard to do it alone. It really is.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
definitely.
completely agree.
Oh, it's so helpful. So, just the final question was there a particular book, quote, or person, or a piece of advice that became an anchor for you? So, and I know you've started to write a book as well, haven't you?
I have. So and I've always read books and listened to whatever podcasts and stuff. But I did a initial draft of a book initially, which was very therapeutic for me to get my feelings out. Working title was Ex-Wife, New Life. And it
Love
was
it.
actually at times heartbreaking, at times quite funny. I look back and I reread some of the early notes and think it's actually quite comical. So I'm working on that, but that's on hold at the moment, because the sort of third part of that book is what they call the comeback. The what's my future going to look like, and I'm kind of still writing that and defining that phase at the moment. So that's something I'm going to probably work on into
Yeah.
next year. But I read a couple of books at the time. One was called How to Be Your Own Therapist by a guy called Owen O'Kane. You can find him on Instagram and stuff. He was a really inspirational guy for me, and I really enjoyed that book. And one quote really that always resonated was, "You change the things you can, and you accept the things you cannot." There was nothing
Yeah.
I could do to change the situation. No amount
Yeah.
of money, flowers, chocolates, champagne, begging on one knee was going to get my ex-wife to change her mind and
Yeah.
Yeah,
agree to reconsider her decision. I
yeah,
had to accept it.
yeah,
Really hard. The stages of grief that you hear people talk about, denial moves to acceptance, etc. I was in denial. We'd have blazing rows and upset conversations, and within 5 minutes, my natural sense of hope would kick back in. We'll be all right. She'll still change her mind. Um,
yeah,
and that went on for years, 2 years, before
yeah,
I kind of thought, she ain't coming back.
yeah,
I need to get my own life together, or I'm going to be stuck in this phase forever.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And I would say that
how did you shift?
I don't know if there was one specific thing. I think it was a letting go. I had to
Yeah,
stop holding on so tightly, because I was killing myself. I was sitting going through old family photo albums of holidays and Christmases, and
yeah,
kids of the pictures of the kids when they were little, and obviously when we were a family, and
yeah,
crying myself into. I'm
yeah,
emotional at the best of times. I'll cry at a rom-com, quite happily. But I was really, really putting myself through the emotional mill.
yeah,
And there was a
Yeah.
sweetness. There was a sweetness to the to that. I'm not recommending it, but there was a certain sweetness in wallowing in the old family photographs and the memories, because it was like I was keeping it all alive, but
Yeah.
I was
I think it,
torturing
I think,
myself.
yeah, but sometimes you have to give yourself permission to go, do you know what? I'm going to do this today. I actually am going to have a really
Yeah,
good
Yeah,
day. And if I want to
but it was
sit
because the
there,
love. I felt the love was
it's
so great.
okay.
It was almost like I was trying to pay respect to the relationship by making myself suffer, but it didn't get me anywhere. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had to at some point let go and
yeah,
consciously accept things and consciously make steps to book a little break somewhere. I've done some serious travelling actually in the last 3 years.
amazing.
I
Yeah,
reached out to an
that,
old
yeah,
school friend in Canada, and he went, "Come and stay with us." I was like, "Are you sure?" Anyway, I've been to Canada now 3 times since the
oh,
separation. For 3 weeks,
lovely.
I've hired a car and gone into Montana, Idaho, Washington. I've been to Lithuania. I've been to Ireland. I've been travelling in Scotland in a camper
yeah.
van. Um, done loads of days out. I've done all sorts of things.
Really good for the soul, isn't it, as well? You
Just kept
sometimes
moving
lose.
days out. You're hearing songs, time to turn the page, and this and.
Yeah.
But that chapter of my life now is been turned. It hasn't been erased. It's just the page has been
No,
turned.
no,
My
no.
marriage of
Yeah,
17 years is still there. It's still the same
yeah,
relationship. Those holidays and
Yeah,
Christmases and family
yeah,
times, they still happened and had value.
yes,
But
yeah,
yeah,
from now, I can't rewind the clock.
no.
But
yeah,
I
It's,
didn't want to,
yeah,
and this comes back to the core values. I didn't want to behave so abominably during the
mm,
divorce, out of line with my core values, so that poisoned what we had. To me, it's still a very
yeah.
special period in my life, but I'm now focused on the future.
yeah,
And do you think,
brilliant.
Simon, summarising, or do you think it is literally just taking that one small step and then building on that, like we said, a routine, just that tiny step and just building on that step by step by step. And I know that's a
Yeah.
cliche, but then you
I don't
turn
think you
around
can do it
and
any other way. Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
I don't think you can do it
no,
any other way, because the mountain, and you're so lost at times to navigate up this proverbial mountain of separation and divorce is too. You don't climb Everest in a day. You don't do it
no,
without planning, without strategy.
no,
So you have to
no,
do it in small bite-sized pieces. It's the only way to do
no,
it. But
no,
I can sit here now and I can reflect and see that those small daily habits, those small, changes I was making and plans I was making, how they've all come to fruition. Because it hasn't
mm,
yeah,
changed the
mm,
end result of the situation, but I'm in a position now where I'm healthy. I can move forwards. I'm a good dad, I think. The house is still clean and tidy. The dog's getting walked and fed. Everything's kind of working as it should be. And from this position now, hopefully, I can move forwards in
yeah.
whatever way I want to.
you will.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Well, we really appreciate you sharing that with us. It's difficult, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
difficult to talk about.
thank you, Simon.
I didn't
It's
cry.
just,
I
Yeah,
didn't cry. What a that's the result.
that's interesting though, isn't it? Because you kind of sometimes talk about your life as a third party. I've done it before where I'm talking about myself, a situation, and there's some really sad stories that I could share with you. And I kind of just talk about it as if it's someone happening to someone else. But that's, you are so much more stronger emotionally, not just physically, you are physically, emotionally stronger. And everything that you've talked about and shared with, I know is going to massively resonate with so many people out there. And thank you
mm,
so much
mm.
for sharing.
Thank you,
And we
Simon.
know we want you to come and join us again in the foreseeable future.
Oh,
And
cool.
especially
That'd
want
be
to
great.
celebrate when you become a coach. You are coaching now. You've already touched people's hearts, I'm sure, unknowingly. People that you might just meet in the street or go. It's like Sam. She was on an aeroplane 3, 4 days ago chatting to someone about their divorce
Yeah,
experience, and she's going to be ringing in soon and getting a coaching session with them. There's always going to
yeah,
be someone, and as you say, you network so hard within your community, um, and there's just not enough coaches out there. As I hear you, Simon, I was exactly the same. I didn't even realise this world existed when I was going through a divorce.
One thing we didn't mention was the
Yeah,
value
yeah,
of a coach, because there's a net
yeah,
cost to employing a coach and working with somebody, but the benefits far outweigh it. I actually think if I'd had someone like you guys or
Yeah.
myself alongside me from the beginning,
Yeah.
I think I could have maybe saved 15, 20,000 in legal fees
Oh,
I know.
easily.
easily. I was
Absolutely
calling my
easily.
lawyer going, just upset about a random interaction,
Yeah.
and then I'd get a bill for 250 quid.
I know.
And then that added up at the end of the month. There was another grand on the overall bill that I was falling behind with. Then I was getting stressed about the bills, and you think, crikey, if I'd just banked that time and used it in my weekly coaching session and
Yeah.
bounced off my coach, I think I could have saved
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah. Do you know what? You've just literally reinforced what Sam and I were talking about in
Yeah.
in part one, which again, if no one's heard part one, then please go and listen to it because I've just given exactly the same example. And if I'd have had a coach, I know for one my bill
Yeah.
would have been considerably less as well.
Just think about those things more clearly. I once
Yeah.
paid for a session with my lawyer. He wrote the notes up 3 weeks later after being reminded twice, and then it was full of errors and spelling mistakes, and he'd misrepresented things I'd asked him to write down. So I ended up on the phone for an hour asking him to redraft it and take out all the spelling errors, and I got charged for all that time.
Yeah.
I was
The
furious.
energy that goes into that is horrendous. And then you wonder why we are a quivering wreck in the corner of the room
You
going,
know,
oh my
this
God.
this isn't me criticising lawyers. That was an example, but generally I
Yeah.
was
No, I
satisfied
know
with
what
the
you mean.
service. But people
Yeah,
need financial advisors, they need lawyers, they need a therapist, they need a counsellor, they need a
They
friend and a coach.
do.
This is all part of that support system.
your
It doesn't.
team. Yeah,
We don't replace a lawyer. We don't replace a financial advisor or a pension
yeah,
advisor or
yeah,
mediation. We're not. We all have our own role to play. But I think a
yeah,
coach can sit above that other team and say, look, this is the plan. This is what you need right now. This is what you need next week.
yeah.
This is what you need to
Exactly
go
it.
and get some advice about this. Someone to hold your
Exactly.
hand through the process, and so
Yeah,
you're not walking that journey alone.
yeah,
I'm getting
Yeah.
goosebumps because I feel so passionately about that.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. The thing is, as well, our emotions cost us money because what happens is we get to a point where we don't want to back down. We don't want to be seen walking away.
Exactly.
We don't want to think because we then look like cowards and we look like. And I've had this conversation with some of my
Walk
coaching clients.
away.
If you can just to walk away and go, you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
hangers. You have them.
Yeah.
It's
It's about
fine.
winning
But
the
it's
war, not the
What
bat,
would
not the
you do?
battle. Because
100%.
my
Yeah.
ex said to me a few times, she said, "You want to win? You want to win?" I said, "How? I don't want to win anything. I'm in
No.
a only lose situation here. I don't want to win anything. I just want to be fair and get things done fairly."
Yeah.
And a coach can
Yeah.
provide that perspective and sometimes challenge
Yeah.
a person's statements or
Yeah.
assumptions. Say, "Look, how important is this to you, really? Let's
Yeah.
look at it."
Yeah.
And I'm only
Yeah.
asking the question. That's our job,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it
It
really
is.
worth this and
Yeah.
hanging on to so tightly? And does it
Yeah.
really
The
matter to you
question
that
is
much?
exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly it. Oh, Simon, thank you so much.
We
That
could
was
talk all day,
So
couldn't we?
much.
I
We
know.
could. Yeah, we could.
But we will. Accept our invitation. We would love to have you back on,
Of course.
maybe later on in the year and see and touch base with you and hear your journey and hear how you're doing. So, Simon, tell people how they can find you.
So mainly at the moment on Instagram at diary_of_a_divorce.
Yeah,
And in time there will more than likely be a website,
brilliant,
potentially a book and a podcast of my own. These things take
brilliant.
time to create because I'm
Okay.
creating this from nothing. So these things take time.
Yeah,
But
they
yeah, watch this
do.
space. I'm
Yeah,
committed to doing
brilliant.
this. I'm committed to
Yeah,
moving into this next phase of my life in this line of
good.
work and helping as
Honestly,
many people as possible.
good.
Oh,
And
it's
we're really proud of you,
brilliant.
Simon.
Yeah,
Honestly, you're
Thank
we
doing
you.
are.
absolutely amazing. You really, really are. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you
So,
so much.
Take
Sam,
care, guys. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, just to finish off, we just want to remind people episode number 6, Sam and I will be at Happy Place, Fern Cotton's Festival. We are there all
Yeah.
weekend. We're there Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to be recording at the festival. We want to try and interview a few people.
And
We're
we
going to
would love
be
it if anybody
so
wants to come up and talk to us, wouldn't we?
we might have to walk around with a great big banner, separation safe. They come and talk to us. Hello, we're over here. And if there's anybody going to the happy place, please let us know because we'd love to meet you there. Simon and I, we were talking about it earlier. If you ever wanted to come along, we'd love to see you there. Um, so that will be next month's episode. And Simon, I know we're going to see you again soon. And congratulations, you don't need it. Keep us
Oh my
You know, I'm so
posted.
God.
proud. I'm so proud to have finished it because I've started lots of different learning things over the years, never quite completed them. But
Yeah,
I'm really proud that I've seen this through to the end and I'll
Massively.
get my certification, which is going to be great.
yeah, it's going to be awesome. Okay, guys,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
so much. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
weekend, everybody, and
Yeah,
so much, so much thanks to you, Simon, for joining us as well. It's
You're
been
thank
welcome.
you,
amazing.
Simon.
See you soon. Okay,
See you
guys,
later.
thank you for
Awesome.
that. Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.